What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the ARC Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Zachary, and this is the Athletes Resilience Center podcast where we talk all things mental performance in sports. We have an awesome episode for you this week. We interviewed Victor Cruz, who is a strength and conditioning coach in the Tampa Bay Rays organization. We go through his journey on how he became a strength and conditioning coach in the Rays organization. We go through his high school days and having professional aspirations to play baseball. We go through his time at Rowan, where he learned more about himself, about team, about culture, about work ethic, and how to create a culture and system that he truly believes in that he can implement with his athletes to this day. We go into his post-playing career, his identity shift going from an athlete into a coach. We talk about his passions, missions, and values as a strength and conditioning coach and how that bleeds onto his athletes that he works with. We talk about the mental performance side of strength and conditioning and how that can correlate over to the baseball field. We talk about the characteristics that make a successful minor league baseball player and give them a better chance to make it to the bigs. We go through a lot of great information here, so I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for coming on, brother. How are we doing today?
Solid.
Good, man. Good. I'm excited to have you on. We talked a little bit before this, but I'm excited to get through your journey. As I told you, I'm not going to hold it against you that you're a Rowan guy, but we're amped up to have you on here and kind of go through your journey on how you got to where you are today. So I'll kick it right back to you and let you kind of go through your journey on how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, nothing wrong with a little NJAC camaraderie.
Of course, big time.
Yeah. All right, my journey. I'll kind of start from the beginning and go throughout. So if you have anything, stop me. But, kind of the first memories in life for me were playing catch with my pops in the backyard. I'm a baseball guy through and through, born and raised in New Jersey. Yeah, played, public school baseball. Kind of around that point in high school was kind of when I fell in love with the weight room. And kind of where I'm at now is with the Tampa Bay Rays as a strength and conditioning coach. So those two kind of blended throughout the course of time. But fell in love with the weight room in high school. But baseball was always the first love. Ended up playing 4 years of college baseball at Rowan University in New Jersey. So some D3 baseball there. A lot of winning, and that's kind of where we crossed paths. And then moved on and grad transferred to East Stroudsburg in Pennsylvania. So grad transferred and played some D2 baseball. When I was at East Stroudsburg, I was also a graduate assistant strength coach. So slowly but surely started to realize, professional baseball probably isn't in the cards for me. It was always something I wanted to do and was a dream. It just probably wasn't in the cards. And so kind of started to transition into pursuing internships, S&C experiences, in the winters and the summers, the college baseball off season, and ultimately led to, playing 2 years of baseball at East Stroudsburg, doing this GA thing, and I'm sure we'll return to this, but got this sense of freedom now that I wasn't pressuring myself to talk to MLB scouts, play at a super high level to get that opportunity. I became the best baseball player I ever was because I started, just playing with no pressure. I'm just going to enjoy my teammates, enjoy practice, play hard and just have fun with it. So finished up at East Stroudsburg. As I said, 6 years total. So COVID eligibility, I was a rare case. It was actually a blessing for me. I ended up, getting more baseball out of the system, which not all guys can say, and I was super grateful for that. So after my 6 years, I should go back. In between my fifth and my sixth year, I got a seasonal position with the Tampa Bay Rays. So got my foot in the door, as they say, in professional baseball. And that was really cool. Really just happy to be there, figuring things out as I go.
Right.
Went back to school, finished up playing my sixth year and still doing strength coaching at school. Once I finished up my sixth year playing, headed right back to the Rays, was offered another year as a seasonal. And just timeline-wise, it was funky because you get down there after the college baseball season, whereas typically in professional baseball, the year starts obviously in spring training or before So that seasonal role really worked well for me at that point in life because I was still playing. So finished up college baseball, did my second year with the Rays, and got hired on full time from then. Um, and at this point, I'm going on my third full time year, fifth year overall with the Tampa Bay Rays. And as much as I hate to say it, my playing days are in the past. The coaching days are the present.
Yeah.
Really shifted gears to coaching and ultimately all the things I experienced, the trials and tribulations, and trying to do my best to, guide young athletes on their journey.
Yeah, no, thank you. That you have a very unique journey, and we talked about this before, kind of starting out in the D3 grind, right? Like now you've made your way to work in the Rays organization, which is awesome. That's great. But taking us back to that, I guess, commitment to Rowan, right? And going in there, like you said, there was professional aspirations. And I was the same way going into TCNJ. The number one thing on my mind was, try to play professionally afterward. Like that's the number one goal. So I guess you going into Rowan, was the mindset always, let's play pro ball. Let's see if we can, play this thing out as long as we can get to?
Yeah, I'd say, it was always a thought for me, even through high school. And then I'd say probably going into my senior year of high school, I started to realize like there's a process to it. It's not just
Yeah.
like you could have a goal or a dream.
Right.
Like I'll keep playing with my buddies.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of work that goes into it, and especially for a guy that wasn't necessarily talented, you had to be doing a lot of things. Almost like every decision you make has to be guided towards like, is this going to make me a big leaguer or is this going to make me a professional baseball player or not?
Right.
And like
Yes.
I started transforming my mindset to be like, how can I prepare myself to do that? So I'd say that happened around junior, senior year of high school. Kind of when I really started getting in the weight room, I remember I started tracking calories from a nutrition side.
Yeah.
I started reading books about like mental performance. So I'm trying to like connect all these dots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, definitely going into Rowan, like that was the thought. I ended up committing to Rowan my senior year in November, so
Right.
super late commit.
Yeah.
Senior and going to a D3 school. I was of the same mindset as a lot of guys. I think it's changed a little bit maybe nowadays, but I was like a D1 or bust. Like I wanted to play Division I baseball. I wanted to play at that level because I thought it gave me a better opportunity to get to professional baseball. Whereas like once you go through it, you realize like the opportunity is the playing time you get and finding the right fit. And even if the baseball side doesn't work out, can I walk away from the school being really happy with my experience and friends and things like that? So that was kind of my mindset, and landed at Rowan it couldn't have been better. Everybody who I run into these days who like ask about it, can't sing its praise enough. Awesome baseball program, awesome environment, like a bigger D3 school.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives you that like big school feel if that's something you wanted, which I did for me. Recap wise, just from a baseball standpoint, we made regional or above every single year. I was
Yeah.
one. Junior year was COVID year, so it was kind of a wash. We played 6 games. Won a conference championship my freshman year, my senior year. My senior year was really special. You spend 4 years. These are my roommates. These are guys I've
Yeah.
lived for 4 years, and we're playing every day together. In the starting lineup, I'm batting 2-hole. He's batting right behind me. I've known this guy for 4 years, and we ended up making a College World Series with a team that, and they'll tell you this too, with a team that wasn't necessarily super talented.
Yeah.
But, like cohesive.
Yes.
We were about us. We were about winning a national championship.
Right.
We were not about getting drafted, and we were not about ourselves.
Yes.
And so that was a cool thing to look at just from the past at Rowan, because we had some really talented teams, guys. We would have. I remember one year we had multiple draft picks coming
Yeah.
from D3 school,
Right.
which is just so rare.
Yeah.
And you realize, like after that year, my buddies, when we got to my senior year, like that group of guys early on was like, wait a second, we probably just had the most talented team in D3 baseball, but we didn't even make it that far.
Right.
What's the process? Like what are we missing here? And we get to my senior year, make an awesome College World Series run, and create memories that, last forever. So that Rowan, I can't recommend Rowan highly enough, and the baseball program is great over there. Coach Dixon does a great job.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for, the Rowan program and what you guys do. I know I was busting with you earlier about going to Rowan versus TCNJ, but you guys obviously have a lot of success and continued success. And I think that shows, the longevity and how well it's run is not just like, oh, we're good here and there. It's like, no, every year you're competing for an NJAC title. Every year you're going to regionals. Every year you're trying to compete for a national title. And, that just speaks volumes to what they're doing over there. So, I have a lot of respect for Coach Dixon and what they do over there. But you were mentioning, right, going into school, because I think I was the same way for a long period of time of like D1 or bust. Like that's the route that you want to go if you want to play professional baseball, because obviously odds are a lot of those guys are playing at a higher level and then getting drafted, picked up, whatever it is. So when you were going into Rowan, right, kind of with that mindset, because I think I was very similar, did you have like a confidence in yourself going into campus, like I'm going to earn a spot, I'm going to be a starter right away? Like, how did that look? And then what was kind of the wake up call for you probably your first year? Because I know me, I went in the fall and I had some success in the fall and I'm like, this is easy. I'm going to be a starter. And then, I come out in the spring and I think my first start, it was like 2 innings. I walked 5 and it was like, oh, I'm not going to see the field for, the rest of the year type of thing. So I'd love to hear your perspective on like what that shift looked like and if there was like a little bit of a wake up call for you going into Rowan.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, junior, senior year, I fell in love with like the process of it. And I knew that there was a certain level of training that it takes um, to play at that level and to ultimately play professionally. But there was a mismatch there. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have the confidence to play at that level. And I obviously didn't know it at the time, but just looking back, there was always this element of fear of failing.
Yeah, right.
There was always this element of like people watching me and trying to perform at all times, which
Yeah.
competitive nature is valuable. But
Right.
at the same time, you're a young kid trying to find his way in a new environment, new school, away from home. And I struggled, man. I struggled with kind of the mental skills
Yeah.
portion of the game.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a pretty good fall, but I didn't even know it because, like, I would talk to guys later,
Right.
a year or two later, and it's like that freshman fall was awesome. I played really well. And
Yeah.
I was so in a blur and, like, not able
Right.
to take in a lot of things that I didn't even know it. And I remember I think it was my first start. It was the back end of a doubleheader. I was playing first base, and I think we were playing Ramapo.
Okay. Yeah.
We were facing a really good lefty that ended up getting signed that year. And this is just the type of player I was at that point. I think I had 3 at-bats. I think I
Yeah.
saw 9 or 10 pitches, and I
Okay.
struck out twice looking and then struck
Yeah.
out once swinging. So, like, there was, like, 2 at-bats where I looked at 6 pitches for strikes and just
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the type of, like, that was just where I was mentally. It was really
Right.
it was hard for me to have that confidence factor and just play free. So that was kind of what was going on throughout my freshman year.
Yeah.
Wake up call wise, I think I still dealt with it, into my sophomore year. I just didn't feel like I was mentally equipped yet.
Yeah.
To play every day and compete at that level. Training wise, I was becoming like a really good baseball player. Like if you watch me in practice,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this guy looks good. Like he can
Yeah.
play. But you put me in a game and like I would have, unforced errors, mental mistakes. I remember beginning my sophomore year, I was the opening day starter on a
Okay.
team full of pretty much seniors. So I, had a good fit and like had a good fall and off season and preseason and was in there. And things just started to unravel. Like the more high pressure situations, the more like really quality playing time I was getting. It just seemed like there was a little bit of inconsistency. And to me, it wasn't like physical or baseball.
Yeah.
It was more mental.
Yeah.
So that was that was early on process for me, just getting into college baseball and kind of finding my feet.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with, I feel the same way. Like my freshman journey, it's funny that you kind of said you had that 6 pitches and 2 at bats. I looked at, 3 strikes, both at bats. Like I felt the same way going into, I guess, my freshman season pitching, where it's like some of the pitches I was throwing, just looking back, like you're so in your head. I'm throwing like non-competitive pitches because it's the same thing. You're like scared to fail in a sense. So it's like I'm throwing first pitch fastballs that are like 46 feet. Like they're skipping to the plate, and it's like at that point again, it's nothing mechanical that you're doing at that point where it's all up in your head a little bit. And I think you put it in a really good way about you weren't really able to play free. And you talked about later in your collegiate career, you were kind of able to find that ability to play free. Now, I know you said there was a little bit of an attachment to maybe the draft or playing at the professional level with like that ability to play free, but was there a moment where you were able to kind of like go back to and kind of think of and be like, oh, that's when I was kind of able to clear everything and be able to play free? Or was it like a gradual process that you had to develop over time?
There was this landmark moment. I'll go through it and then I'll try to think like, was that it or not?
Yeah.
So junior year we played 6 games. It was COVID, and that was kind of a wash. And then that summer, I went down and played in the Collegiate League of the Palm Beaches, which is
Okay.
in Florida. So
Yeah.
traveled and wanted to see some better competition, and just kind of piecing it all together. Like that league was also sponsored or worked with Cressy Sports Performance.
Yeah. Right.
A big part of my journey, and I ultimately ended up interning there, and then that trampolined me into pro ball. So a little bit of stuff going on there, but I go down to this summer league, and basically my mindset going in was if I don't talk to an MLB scout or if I don't get approached in any way, not that it's a big league, it's just like it was kind of that time in my career. Like if I don't talk to an MLB scout, it would have been my first time ever. Like I'm going to start to transition my summers and my winters towards pursuing S&C experiences and starting to build my career. So I went down there, and just like before that, it was COVID, right? I know a lot of people have mixed feelings. I completely took control of my COVID period in that
Yeah.
there was a lot of things you couldn't control, but what could I? I understood that turf fields and grass fields are open.
Yes.
To do my training there. So I was like, well, I've been needing to get faster my whole baseball career. So I started doing a sprint program 3 times a week. I was doing a J-band long toss program
Yeah.
into the side of a high school.
Yeah.
3 times a week. I started doing driveline plyo balls.
You're right.
Started doing these things that haven't been a part of my process, and just like completely controlling what I could to try to, become the best I could. And so then I go down to that league, and I play okay, but I don't play great. I definitely don't come anywhere near talking to MLB scouts, and I was totally content with that. It was one of those like, I left no what ifs, no regrets, and it didn't work out for me. Let me start pursuing this other passion that I love to do. So after that, I went back for my senior year at Rowan, and one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I'm batting in the 2-hole, playing third base every day in a College World Series.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that was the landmark moment where I kind of moved on from the professional aspirations and didn't have this sense of pressure or fear of failure, and started playing what I think is like my brand of baseball. I wish I could tell you a better story of
No,
that's
a great story.
But I finally figured this out, and I'm gonna keep pushing.
Yeah.
It's gonna work out, and I ended up playing pro. But it didn't. I failed out. I failed out of professional baseball.
Yeah. No, but I think it's cool to hear that side of the story because everywhere on social media you'll see the other end of like, oh, something clicked over this time period, and then like now he's a professional athlete. Like even though you didn't make it to the level that you were trying to make it to at the beginning, like your ability to find yourself and play free, I think is also really cool because a lot of people go through 4 years of college and don't have that experience. You know what I mean? Like it takes them till after they're done to be like, man, I really wish like I kind of took things a little bit less seriously when it came to trying to reach the professional level, right? And being able to let go and play free, I think like that's awesome. That's everything you could ask for in a 4-year time period playing, especially at the Division III level, right? Like I feel like for you that makes it really unique and it's a cool story.
Thank you, man. There's definitely some life takeaways,
Yeah.
from that whole process. So I always appreciate that. And that's I know going through the Rowan thing, like I really have to shout out, the program and the culture that Coach Dixon and now Coach Frito, who I played with when I was
Yes.
an assistant
Yes.
coach.
Yes. I know Jordan very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, man, I just have to shout them out because I was so grateful that I went to Rowan out of high school because I needed a certain level of discipline of like wear the same clothes to practice. Everybody's
Yeah.
matching. I needed a level of like if you show up late, don't come. I
Yes.
needed a level of like that type of culture because
Yeah.
I needed that in my life to
Right.
mature and to become a man. And every program's a little bit different, but they're definitely big on building people um,
Yes.
there. And I just learned a lot of valuable life skills. So I know, before we move on from the Rowan thing, they deserve a shout out because my life wouldn't be the same, if I didn't go through that program.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'd love you to touch on that culture a little bit and kind of the importance of even building a culture. Because I'm sure even today, right, like when you're implementing lifting programs or you're creating an environment that you want people to succeed in lifting wise, right? Like I'm sure a lot of that had come from your experiences at Rowan, right? Like I'd love you to kind of dive into the culture there even further and like what made it so special for you and unique as a team.
Yeah, interesting point. A thought I've been having a lot recently, um, wrong or right, indifferent, is the training, just right now, currently, the training environment that coaches and leadership can put together is potentially more valuable than the programming or the exercise. Um, yeah,
100%. I agree with that. I agree with that.
and so that's just the thought I've been having because as a coach, you get caught up in a lot of the X's and O's and wanting the perfect program. And it's like if the guys come in ready to freaking attack every day,
Yes.
there's something about the adaptations and the development of that player that the exercises don't necessarily matter as much if they're really willing and able to get after it every day. To that point, um, so I'm the other part of your question. Wait, I lost it because I started talking about training. The other
No,
part of
you're good. Just kind of the culture shift that you saw at Rowan, like how unique the culture was and the success that you guys had. Like, I guess how important was that, and maybe diving in a little deeper on like what made it special, and then how it's transitioned you into like implementing that culture and what you do today.
yes, yes, okay. So yeah, the culture and the environment at Rowan. I'm thinking because I'm trying to conjure up like one story of how
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
encapsulates it, right? Um, I might I might butcher it, but we at the beginning of every spring we'd always have a team meeting and we tried to coach would always try to come up with like a theme for the year.
Yeah.
Um, and these themes just stuck so well with the teams. And I remember one was like I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something like if you think of a hot boiling pot of water, you put if you put an egg in the hot boiling water, what does it
Yeah.
do? It becomes a hard-boiled egg, but it's kind of
Yes.
still soft in the middle.
Yeah.
You put a carrot um, in the water, it starts to get, or if you cook it too long, it starts to get harder. And I think it culminated to like, if you put a rock in the boiling water, the rock's not going to change, and it's
Yeah.
just steady eddy, and it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be gritty. And I might have butchered that a little bit, but the purpose being, we want to be a rock. Like we want to be somebody that's always consistent, is always willing to take care of business, and is not phased by adversity, by different things that come our way. And so that kind of encapsulates the culture. And the really cool thing is, like, yeah, the team is like listens to the story and is like, okay, but the next thing you know, it's like Saturday night, whatever. The guys are having fun, and we're making jokes about being a rock.
Yeah.
And we're making jokes about adversity, and like that's just kind of how it starts. And
Yes.
fast forward to I remember a regional game under the lights in Marietta, Ohio, and we're playing really good baseball, and we're right on the precipice of doing the College World Series and doing the thing. And we're getting ready, gearing up for this game, pregame warm up, and it starts downpouring, and they postpone the game, and no further info. We just don't know. And coach brings us all in, tells us we just finished stretching, warming up for the game, doing our routines. And coach tells us this, and everybody kind of looks at each other and is like, adversity?
Yeah.
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 Just erupted. And we were like,
Yeah.
adversity, good. We like it. Give us more of it.
Yeah.
We knew that the more adversity you gave us, the bigger advantage we had.
Right.
We weren't going to complain about it, and we were going to turn it into an advantage. Um, and it all started with, like, coach giving a message, us joking about it, and it turns into a freaking life-changing, game-changing, season-changing
Yeah.
moment. So that's trying to put it all together. That's
Yeah.
kind of like a story and like how things, at least for me, through my lens, everybody sees it different. That's how things worked at Rowan, and that's how you build a culture.
We want to take a quick second to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by the Philly Pretzel Factory of Marlton, New Jersey. Whether it's picking up a snack between games or picking up a party tray for the big game, the Philly Pretzel Factory of Marlton has you covered. For all of your pretzel needs, make sure you stop by the Philly Pretzel Factory of Marlton, located on North Maple Ave. Let them know that the ARC podcast sent you. Now back to the episode. Yeah, no, I love that. And it truthfully starts with something as small as that, which is awesome to see, like, how it builds and how over the course of a season, right? Like, you go back to that and it's like, oh, adversity, let's go. Like, we're going to be the rock that we talked about. That's really cool to hear. And I have a similar story, I feel like, at TCNJ. So my junior year, which was the year before you got there, when we won the NJAC, we played down in Florida, and we were winning like weird games. Like, we were playing really good ball and playing good teams, but like, just like we played a team. We played Webster, and their starting pitcher he pitched for the Rays. His name was Josh Fleming. I don't know if you had any overlap at all, but he was nasty, lefty, like low 90s, had complete control of 4 pitches, like disgusting. And he's shoving, but like we're scrapping together, we're keeping it close. I think it's like a 1-1 or 2-2 ball game, and we get into the last inning, and I think we're down by 1. And they had like a catcher's interference. There was a fly ball in the infield that the shortstop dropped out of nowhere. Like, just weird ball started happening that like normally doesn't. And we're all freaking out. We're being idiots in the dugout. And the umpire tells like our first baseman, he's like, you guys are the weirdest group of guys I've ever seen. Like, you guys are the weirdest team I've ever seen. And that whole year, it's just like embracing that. And it's like, yeah, we're just going to be a weird group of guys, but like, you're being yourself. You know what I mean? Like, your identity then shifts to being like, all right, we might be weird, but we don't care. Like, I don't care what anyone else thinks about us, right? It's kind of like the same sentiment where like, at first the umpire's like, you're the weirdest group of guys ever. And it's kind of like, what the heck? Like, what did he mean by that? And it's like all year, it's like, we're weird and we don't care. And that's how success brews, and like, that community brews between the guys, right? That's how you build the culture there. So I really do appreciate that story. That's cool to hear, and something that's carried along with the program, because obviously, like, Rowan's had success year in and year out while they've been there. I'm sure they've been back to a World Series since you guys were even there, right?
Yeah, a lot of super regionals. I want to say it was last year that I was watching them in the World Series, and we were 2-0 when we were there, and they won a few games when they went
Yes.
out. So, they're scratching and clawing, man. I can't wait for the day it happens, because it's coming.
Yeah. No, I love to hear that. But your transition then from Rowan into East Stroudsburg, and then officially, like you said, almost sacrificing this identity of becoming a professional baseball player to pursue your new passion and career in strength and conditioning and coaching. Now, for you, I've talked to a lot of guys who were former athletes who have now dove into different ventures. Was that identity shift for you difficult? Because a lot of guys view themselves as, I'm a baseball player, I'm a baseball player, I'm a baseball player. And then the second that's removed, right, and you go into something new, it's like, wait a minute, who am I? Who, like, am I to my core? You kind of lose sense of yourself. Did you have that experience, or was it an easier transition for yourself since you kind of stayed in sports? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say first things first is like, baseball was my true love, and to stay in it as a profession definitely changed the game for me. Like, I could not be more grateful to stay around baseball for a living. So that was definitely helpful, but there definitely was, and I feel like my current identity has moved on, and like
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
still like to train like one. Like I still like to get
Yes.
things. I still like to throw with the guys because like
Yeah.
that just kind of it fuels my soul in a way,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, but there definitely was a few years, getting into professional baseball where um, it was hard, and things that really helped me was like um, we call it process and development, popularly known as mental performance. We have a department of those people, and I've leaned on them in a lot of ways personally just to help me with some of those things. I'm forgetting some of the examples, but I just know, and I'll shout him out. David Lianis, um,
Okay.
he uh, he helped me with that specific thing. I'm trying to think of the example, but we kind of boiled down this like issue I was having, and
Yeah.
like, dude, you're still holding on to your
Yeah.
baseball identity, and like
Yeah.
you're a coach now, man. It's
Yeah.
about it's about living to serve. It's
Right.
about what can you do on a daily basis to get players to where they need to be. And so I've worked through that, and I feel comfortable with my identity now, being a coach
Yeah.
and doing those things. But there definitely was an element of that in my process.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like my first year out of TCNJ, I guess it was my second year, but I also had the same thing where it was like, all right, I'm done with the professional aspirations. But I coached at Camden County Community College, so in South Jersey, and it was the same thing where it was like part of me was still holding on to that identity of being an athlete. And it's like you said, that's in a way you think it's helpful in your brain. You're like, "Oh, I still think like an athlete. That's great." But like you said, your purpose changes completely because now it's like I'm here to serve these other people. I'm not here to make myself get better, if that makes sense. Like you're there to help others. And it's cool to hear you kind of talk about that and hear that you communicated with someone on like the mental performance side of making sure that was like your new journey, your new mission and your values moving forward. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back on it, it's like to be the best version of yourself as an athlete and a baseball player, you kind of inherently need to be selfish. You need to you need to get a really firm morning routine that you're not going to put on with people. Same thing with pregame routines. You need to sleep 8+ hours a night and like not letting others get in the way of that. Um, Same thing with nutrition. I need to find ways to maximize that. And like you go through this checklist of things that you should be doing, and ultimately you're sacrificing other things, being selfish to yourself to develop. And then when you flip the script to being a coach, it's like everything you did is still important, but like that's not the priority anymore. It's like, can I get here early to help a guy with mobility? Or how much longer am I willing to spend after hours to program to do, to get this guy better? So like everything flips from that mindset of like, what can I do to get better to
Yes.
what can I do to serve? Um,
Yes.
so that's a transition now that, is difficult, I'm sure, for everybody, but I'm comfortable with now. And like, I feel like my purpose is servant leadership and living to serve. So like I'm super fulfilled,
Yes.
with doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, I love to hear that. That's great, man. So, can you talk about kind of you talked about getting your foot in the door and working in professional baseball. Like, how did that opportunity present itself, and how did you kind of go out and get that? I'd love to hear like your side of that story on how that happened.
Yeah, yeah. So let's bring it back to Cressy Sports Performance.
Yeah,
So as I said, it was this really cool way in which it worked out. But I played that summer ball like I was talking about, and I trained. I was training there during the league, so they
yeah,
kind of got to know me. And then the following summer, after my senior year at Rowan, I applied for the internship and got it because they kind of, they knew me at that point because I had
yeah,
trained there. And fortunately, got the internship. Was like super stoked, like biggest moment in my professional career at a young
yeah.
and I get there and like just like how talk super highly of Rowan, same
Yes,
thing about Cressy Sports Performance. I just that's just where I learned everything from the grassroots,
yeah,
the foundational levels of what I know and what I still do today. Has been from that place.
yeah,
Coaching 8+ hours a day, Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday. Weekly in services where you're going deep on a complex topic. Um, Learning individualization of athletes based on their posture, based on how they move.
yeah,
Um, Coaching cues, different ways to think about intrinsic versus extrinsic cueing.
yeah,
Um, man, just a lot of good stuff that came from that and really set the groundwork for
Yeah.
the coach. And then on top of that, just the beautiful network, especially in professional baseball, for the strength and conditioning industry.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that kind of helped propel me into pro ball. But I will say, so I get the Rays gig in between my fifth and sixth year at East Stroudsburg, and I remember sitting down. So I made a tough life decision in my fifth year at East Stroudsburg. Instead of going home for break and spending a ton of time with my family, I stayed at East Stroudsburg and stayed in my apartment for the winter. And
Okay.
I coached my women's basketball team
Yeah.
and my women's swimming team. And then I studied for my CSCS, which is an important certification in
Yeah.
our industry, especially to work in professional sports. I studied for my CSCS. I did my coaching, um, and I spent weeks on figuring out the right people to email for all
Yeah.
30 MLB teams.
Yeah.
And I sent a cold email of my resume, brief thing, like, this is who I am. If you have any opportunities, just let me know. So I emailed every single MLB team. I got my CSCS, and I stayed back to coach. And then he did my baseball training. Instead of going home with my family, that ultimately landed me to getting a position with the Rays. And that's kind of my story. And then, I made it and kind of hit the ground running and try to take advantage of the opportunity in front of you.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's awesome. I do like that level of sacrifice because, we've talked about on this podcast a ton with guys that have come on, like the sacrifice that it does take to kind of get to where you want to go, especially like in professional sports, right? Whether you are working in professional sports or are an athlete in professional sports, there are trade-offs that you have to make, right? Like I think the easy decision for you probably would have been to go home and just spend winter break at home and kind of enjoying yourself. But, you know, you seemed like you at that time were a man on a mission and you wanted to be able to coach and get those hours in and you wanted to be able to study the way that you knew would be most effective. And then obviously cold emailing every MLB team in order to try to get an opportunity, which is awesome that you were able to, succeed in that and then put your foot in the door and get in there. So I'd love you to also talk about the mindset in like I always think about with minor league coaches, no matter it's strength and conditioning, it's being a pitching coach, being a hitting coach, whatever it is, you guys kind of follow a similar trajectory as the athletes themselves, right? It's like you start at a lower level and you're trying to make your way up and go as far as you possibly can. What does that kind of look like from your side? Like trying to prepare every day and try to set goals for yourself and get to where you want to go versus like on the athlete side, if that makes sense. Like what's the difference between the two and what does that look like for you individually?
Good question. I'm going to take it back a step, and I'm just thinking of like, I've made a few stops along the way, right, from a side, and I kind of formulated this framework of like when I go into a new place, whether I've been hired as an intern, seasonal, full-time, when I go into this new place, like what are the controllables in front of me that are meaningful to stay there and help people? And it all kind of started, at Cressy and kind of went from there. I always set a goal to know everybody's name within the first week, to the building relationships piece, right?
Yes.
There's these buzzwords, man. Build relationships, collaborate. I'm always
Yeah.
like, how do you do it,
Yes.
Right? That's the outcome. But how do you do
Yeah.
it? So build relationships. Learn everybody's name in the building. And
Right.
Just another thing, I don't want to go off too much on a tangent. Just another thing, for people that say like, hey, I'm not, you know this person. Hey, I'm not good with names.
Yeah.
If you say you're not good with names, then you're never going to be good with names. It's a
Right.
self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Right.
So instead of saying that, or like, I'm not a good test taker, yeah, then you're not, because you said it, you're not.
Right. Right.
So, I kind of started using these tools to try to learn people's names. So that's my first one, learn everybody's names. And then you start to build relationships from there. Super base level, right? But it just, you go from there. Learn everybody's names. Be early. Like, don't be that guy that's going to show up late. Or just,
Right.
especially when, like, you're just starting. So, totally controllable. Learn everybody's names. Be on time. And the last one, work your freaking tail off. And I guess it's relative. Like, it's different to everybody else. But, like, especially early on, like if you're not the first one there and the last one to leave, are you doing everything you can,
Yeah.
to get better? Um, Work your freaking tail off. Like if somebody asks you to do something, even if it's like a small, can you do this Excel sheet?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you know what you do with the Excel sheet? You create the absolute best Excel sheet you could possibly.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it is early on in your career. You say yes to it, and you treat it like it's a NASA freaking space launch.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you put 100% effort into it. So that's kind of like my three things was like learn everybody's names um, early, and work your tail off. Like the smallest things, just and at that point in my life too, I live by this quote, which I think a little bit differently about now, but it served me well then. How you do anything is how you do everything. All the small little details in life, do them at 100% of your effort to the best of your ability. Because when big things come up and you don't know what to do or whatever, it doesn't matter because everything you do is 100%. So it's just
Right.
become easy. That's
Yeah.
kind of transitioned a little bit.
Yeah.
Now. There's
Yeah.
the last thing because it was really making me think. That's kind of transitioned a bit now. I don't I don't know if it's the role you're in or the people you work with or what, but I read this book, Essentialism by Greg McEwen,
Okay.
and it's just the whole idea of like learning how to properly prioritize the things in front of you. And sometimes it's, he would argue that sometimes it's not the best to like put 100% effort into something when like that's only going to give you a 10% rate of
Right.
return on whatever.
Yes.
Versus if I do this thing, I know it's going to help everybody. Versus
Right.
this thing's only going to help a couple guys. So
Yeah.
like trying to balance that priority and like what is really essential in your life. That's just another way to kind of flip that.
Yeah.
How you do anything is how you do anything. So that's just like my spectrum.
Yeah. Now, something that I've just noticed hearing you talk about like your journey and even your transition from athlete now to coach, like a big topic that we always talk about is that identity question of like what shifting from the identity of an athlete versus like shifting into the identity of who you are today, who you are as a coach, etc. Right? Like you at one point, right, probably had this identity crisis in yourself where it's like I am a baseball player, I will be a professional baseball player. There's this, I don't know, self-proclamation where it's like that's what I'm going to be and this is who I am. But at your core, right, just hearing you speak, like you're clearly a hard worker and someone who's going to put his effort into everything that he does, right? So you were never Victor Cruz, the baseball player. You were Victor Cruz, the human that works extremely hard and is going to go after what he wants to go after. But being a baseball player is just something that you did, right? Where similarly now, it's like your purpose is now to serve people and coach people. But at your core, you're still someone who remains consistent, is going to put in as much effort as he possibly can because he knows the return is there. And someone, when you're passionate about something, you're going to go all in for. And I think it's just cool to kind of see that transition. And even though it's in a different field, going from athlete to now coach, you're applying many of the similar principles and characteristics that you had as an athlete to what you're doing today.
That's a nice frame. That's a nice frame, Brandon. I appreciate the kind words, man.
Yeah, no, of course. I appreciate it when people who were in sports, who were athletes now are transitioning into something else and they take that same level of energy and passion. So it's really cool to see. Now, this might be kind of an odd question, but take it however you will. So you as a strength coach, right? Like I think sometimes I had this issue as an athlete, as a pitcher. Like, how do you go between balancing taking things from other coaches, like being like, oh, that's really cool. I like the way that he used that cue. I like the way that he does this and that. I like the way that he creates an environment. How do you go between taking things from other coaches and then being you and being Victor Cruz the individual and using your strengths? Like I think as a pitcher sometimes I found it hard. I'd like find something on Instagram, right? Like that was big. Just I'd sit there and like look at videos and be like, oh, I can improve on X, Y, and Z. But at a certain point, it's like, wait a minute, am I taking away from the strength of who I am as Brandon Zachary, right? Like, I'd love to hear how you balance that and like what the formula is. I'm sure it's never perfect, but what you've kind of found is like, oh, I can take this from this guy, from this experience, but also at my core, I'm still going to be me and implement the things that I truly believe in.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you touched on a good one is like doing analysis like of yourself. I think this gets lost a lot I like to go on long walks and like
Yeah.
don't bring the phone, don't bring the AirPods, don't bring the
Right.
music, and like you're forced to think and reflect.
Yes.
Like I think that I think that thinking is a lost art. Like pure
Yes.
reflection is a
Right.
really powerful tool, and I think with just this day and age, with how many people are on social media and are constantly consumed by something, they don't reflect enough. Um, so try to do more of that. Seriously.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just to my point of like, I think you bring something up really good about strengths and weaknesses and analysis
Yeah.
of who you are. You should
Right.
be, feedback is great and you should always be seeking feedback, but you should also be very self aware of who you are as
Yes.
a person and like your strengths and weaknesses as a professional. So I definitely think about those things often. And the cool thing is they evolve.
Yeah.
Like, say you're doing more continuing education in this, or like you try to be better at public speaking. Like your strengths and weaknesses evolve, which is always cool. So it's important to just constantly reflect and see on where you're at. So you bring up a good point there, and then to answer your question, kind of about, I've heard this phrase before, like the best strength coaches are the best thieves. They
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
have a really good ability to take from people. So to me, it boils down to I believe in first principles, or first order way of thinking, and I
Yeah.
kind of came into this by reading a book um, called Principles by Ray Dalio, and he did he's a Wall Street guy, finance guru for decades, and he wrote this book just about life and business principles, and
Okay.
whether it be making money or whether it be a really good coach or a really good dad. Um, this idea of creating first order principles, meaning like this is the thing that's important.
Yeah.
This is what I believe in, and this is my philosophy, and this is what I know is going to make a positive impact. Um, and then, your thought process and the experiences you have, and the lens you have, and the people you meet are all going to affect your methods or how you attack that first principle. So to answer your question about like seeing all this stuff on social media is like, we'll take some time to reflect. What are your first principles? What's really important? And then yeah, like if just in my shoes, if you like this split squat variation, yeah, I'm gonna be a thief. I'm gonna take it because it fits into the fact that I think unilateral strength or being strong on one leg is the first order principle. Like I think you should be strong on one leg. I like that split squat. There you go. There's one of my methods. So like, try to relate it back to like what do you think is really important, and then what other people are putting out or the experiences that you have. Does it fit in to the way you think?
Yeah.
And then just it expands and it evolves from there.
Yeah, no, and it kind of goes back to a previous point you had too about like the prioritization of what's important to you. Like you said, the first principle thought is just like everything that you do, whether it is like trying to be the best baseball player that you could do, it's looking at that drill, looking at that exercise, looking at whatever you're looking at and being like, is this actually going to be beneficial for me, or is this a cool drill that I see online that like has no true effect on me or is not attacking a weakness that I need to attack? Correct. Like I think it's cool to kind of hear you frame it like that, because I think a lot of young athletes get lost in that. And I've worked with a lot of pitchers that will send me a video on Instagram. It's like, should we implement this drill? And it's like, the drill, the things in that drill that it's trying to correct are the things that you have strengths in. So why would we continue to spend time on something that is not a priority for you individually? Like I'm sure you see a lot of it in strength training too, but I'm sure a lot of athletes also probably say like, oh, can I try X, Y, and Z? And it's like, good thought, but also that's probably not the thing that we're trying to attack and get you better at. There's a lot of social media provides good and bad. There's a lot of opportunity to find things that you probably couldn't regularly find, before social media was existent and a thing. But also there is paralysis by analysis where you can take such a deep dive into so many different drills, so many different things. And, especially on social media, everyone likes to proclaim that they're a guru at whatever they're trying to, put out into the world. So, an impressionable young athlete can look at an exercise and be like, this looks like it's really important for me, where someone who's a professional in that field, such as yourself, might be like, it's a good exercise, but for you, it's not a priority. I guess if that makes sense. I know that was kind of a ramble on my end, but I'm trying to express like on your end of ranking your priorities, and if this exercise fits in a box of something that will help you, great. If not, maybe kick it to the side, and we shouldn't focus on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could talk about social media and the age of technology forever, right? And it has its benefits and it has its negatives. I am in no position to give people advice on how to use social media. It's just always evolving. It's so hard.
Right.
I know for me, I had some mentors early on at a gym called Game Changer where I first fell in
Okay.
love with the gym.
Yeah.
I remember I sitting down for lunch with the owner who's now like, he's got like 15 locations. And this was back when we had one. We were like in the back of a baseball cage.
Yeah.
And I was one of his first people that he trained. I remember we're just having lunch, and he knows I'm super interested in this, and he just gives me a list of people to follow. Hey, like, you have Instagram, like just follow, a few of these people if you're interested in this thing and see what comes up of it. I remember some of the names were like Eric Cressy, Mike Boyle, Joe DeFranco,
Yeah.
Gray Cook, like guys that are ultimately, he gave me a great list of guys.
Yes.
They put out information. I could take that information and
Right.
start to learn.
Yes.
So I guess if I can give any advice about social media and people looking to get into a field or use it for the best ability they can, is like follow the right people. And
Yeah.
if you don't know where to go, is like find somebody that you could really trust and then have them help you with the process.
Yeah.
I don't know if it can always take the place of in-person coaching.
Oh yeah. No, I agree.
Right. Even outside of like weight room stuff, like mentorship
Yes.
from older people that have more experience, like it just can't really take the place of that. So like if you're somebody that's relying on social media for a lot of development, tough road because
Yeah.
you need that human level interaction. That is the center
Right.
of what you're looking for. It's not, social media. But all that to say, there's pros and there's cons. That was just kind of my story and like a positive one from social media. It's a tough thing to navigate for sure.
Definitely. No, I completely agree. Now, you talked about in-person training, and now obviously you're working with athletes in person all the time, right? Like every day, and trying to help guys get better. So I'd love to hear kind of your approach working with athletes now coming from a Division III lens, because I had this conversation with a couple of the other guys who have played at the Division III level but are now coaching, right? Like, was there a lack of confidence from yourself when you're coming into this and it's like these guys are playing at a level that I never played at type of thing? Because like I remember trying to get into, coaching pitchers, and at a certain level, right? Like obviously you've had this opportunity where you're coaching guys who have exceeded your skill level. And was there ever an insecurity from yourself as like, well, I was only a Division III baseball player, why would they listen to me? Or was that never a thought in your head? Because I just would love to hear like the behind the scenes for that as someone who played at the Division III level and you're, working with the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the first things is like the art of listening.
Yeah.
Are you a good listener? Like how open-minded are you?
Yes.
If you come in as a young coach and like, yeah, you played lower level baseball, or you're even in worse shape physically than they are.
Yeah.
That one you should try to beat.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, like ultimately when I was, and I do it, whatever, I did it today. It's like, how many questions are you asking to the guys about what they can teach you? One of the coolest parts about coaching is like you're put here and you're employed by these people to impact these guys.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it works the other way around. Like,
Right.
It's changing my life just as much as I'm changing theirs.
Yeah.
So this idea of like, yeah, these maybe big athletes, big money, whatever, like be open-minded, try to learn from them. Like what has worked for you in the past? So that's kind of one is like be open,
Yeah.
ask questions, be a good listener, because that's what builds the relationship. And that was like, you should be trying to come to this solution about player development or whatever together. It's not
Right.
like, I'm going to tell you what to do to fix your hip mobility. No, it's like I'm going to navigate a relationship and a conversation to come to a joint conclusion. And
Right.
we're both like, yeah. We both
Yeah.
have ownership over the plan. We're like,
Right.
we did this together. Now,
Yes.
now let's attack it, right? So that's that's kind of my piece there.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I completely agree. I think that's also how you build a better culture, right? Like we've talked about this whole time and your experience at Rowan. Like if you're not in it together, that culture is not going to exist, because if they don't see that you have respect for them as an athlete, then they're not going to respect you as a coach. And I think that's how it should work, right? Like as you were an athlete, if you've probably had coaches in the past that didn't really show you as much respect as you thought you had, and in your eyes, it's like, I'm going to take what this coach says with a little bit more of a grain of salt than maybe someone who is working with you, not directing feedback at you, if that makes sense. So it's cool to hear you kind of coach like that. My next question is kind of a loaded question, so bear with me a little bit. Now, when you're working with these athletes, obviously some of the best athletes in the world. Now, when we're focusing on, a lot of our conversation has been around like mindset, right? Like what their mentalities look like going into the weight room. When you've seen guys that have taken their strength successes and it has bled onto the baseball field, like what are some of the characteristics that have been similar between those athletes that you've seen, like that do lead from, okay, they take the strength and conditioning aspect super seriously, and now those gains have led into success on the field? Like what are some of the, I guess, characteristics or like soft skills that they've had in the weight room with you that you've seen that would allow them to succeed on the baseball field as well?
Yeah, interesting. Um, just like one of my first thoughts is like I, I feel like I notice a lot more of big change. Like you could really change someone physically when they're high school, college age.
Yeah.
Like they're on this natural, level of testosterone and going through the puberty process, and like they have this something to them where they're going to change no matter what. But when you throw the weight room and a really good program at them over like a long period of time, you see some people just, it changes the course of their sport career, right? So sometimes that's more eye opening because you see, the change happens right in front of you. Um, versus at the professional level, a lot of it is like fine tuning. Or depending on the age of the guy and the type of athlete, but a lot of it is like fine tuning, and like you change this mindset from like increasing performance, getting stronger, getting faster, to like how long can I keep you on the baseball field? Like, can we play till you're 35?
Yeah.
Can we do it till you're 40?
Yeah.
That's a little bit different approach than someone who's 19 years old trying to pack on 20 pounds
Right.
at 95.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of change in philosophy there, and I think you ultimately see that in like the product,
Yeah.
how they play on the field.
Right.
But in terms of soft skills and characteristics, I mean, some of the non-negotiables is like, I'll drop this on you because I always talk about it with people. I love a movie. It's called King Richard.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
King Richard. It's a story
Yeah.
of Venus and Serena Williams,
Right.
and their story's incredible. They came from Compton and became the best to ever play tennis.
Yes.
And the story follows along with their dad and their process. And there's this point in the movie where they go to a tennis academy, and it's their first like professional coaching in tennis, and ultimately leads them to where they are. Coach by the name of Rick Macy. I remembered it. Rick Macy. So this is true story stuff. And I remember the scene is he brings him in, showing him the whole tennis facility. He's like, "Hey, do you see that court there? Yeah, that's the number 3 player in the world. Hey, do you see that? That's a U18 number 2 player in the world."
Yeah.
He's just like, "Do you see what's going on here?
Yeah.
If you want to do this, you got to do this."
Yeah.
Right? And he says to them, he stops, he says, "Do you hear that sound? That sound is effort.
Yeah.
I love effort." And so I always drop that quote on people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because the best tennis coach with all these, he's doing it with the best athletes. And it's like, if you don't provide effort, nothing we do is going to work out the way you want it to be.
Right.
So like effort, hard work, discipline, these things that are like all buzzwords, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it really matters, right? That
Yeah.
stuff really matters. And I just share that story because I think it just stuck with me. Like
Yeah.
I want to be Rick Macy, and I want
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that stuff is awesome. And I'd say somebody that is coachable, somebody that comes to you, and starts asking questions about, "Hey, I'm feeling this, how can we, what do you think?" And somebody that comes to you and wants feedback and wants to be coached, that's always a really cool athlete to work with. So effort, hard work, and somebody that's like that's not searching too much, but like always looking for that 1%, always looking for
Yeah.
to get better. Those are some of the soft skills and characteristics I'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love the King Richard quote. That's great. It was a good movie. Um, but you also talked about, like, you referenced working with a high school kid that maybe needs to put on 20 pounds in order to try to throw 95 or whatever the case may be, versus like, oh, now I'm trying to keep guys healthy so that they can play until they're 35. You've coached at different levels now within the Rays organization. Now, is there a different strategy to coaching, let's say at the, I don't know, at a rookie ball level versus like a double A level? Like, what does that look like? Because I'm sure in the rookie ball level, you probably get some high school guys that are need to gain 20 pounds in order to throw 95 or whatever the case may be. But is there a different strategy in the way one strength coach might approach like rookie ball versus a different level of like professional baseball?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like life, like you have to be adaptable. You kind of
Right.
have to be like a chameleon. You change
Yes.
in your environment. Um, yeah, you realize like younger athletes, just kind of like going back to the Rowan thing and the culture, like you need to provide a sense of discipline, a sense of like you have to do things a certain way to learn
Right.
to do
Yep.
ultimately gets you to where you want to be. So there has to be a little bit of like, hey, I'm gonna be more firm with the accountability, and I'm gonna do these things to follow you into a system that gets you to where you want to be. So there's a little more of like firmness in the way you coach, I think, sometimes with younger guys, because they need that as a part of their maturity process. Because you just don't know until you don't know what you don't know, right? Sometimes you need to just kind of push them in that direction. Versus when you get to some more polished athletes, like a lot of them, this is where to me it really comes into play. Where like I'm learning more from them than
Yeah.
you know. You've been around a while and like you've been lifting weights for over a decade. Like, what do you think? Like, give me some
Yeah.
secrets. How did you
Yeah.
how did you do this for so long? What are
Right.
exercises that really work well for you? What do you like to stay away from? Um, and it's a little more of like, if I was here or if I wasn't here with a super polished guy, he's probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
He's done this thing for a while. Um, Not to say that you can't make an impact. You definitely can. But that's kind of the differences. Is like you're trying to create a system to filter guys in,
Yes.
just younger people, and
Yeah.
like, you get this well-oiled machine that produces results physically, versus older athletes, a little more individualization, a little more fine-tuning, a little more polishing,
Yeah.
um, and it's a little bit more conversational based on the things you're doing,
Yes.
versus a little more like, hey, like this is what we got, and you better
Yeah.
get after it, and I'm gonna keep you
Right.
going. So like
Right.
that's kind of the spectrum of it. So there's definitely a difference. And dude, I'm always learning.
Yeah.
That's just some of my thoughts. But that could easily change, throughout the course of time.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think you make a good point too. Just like the maturity level, I'm sure is way different when you get from rookie ball into like double A, or guys who have been there. Like you said, guys who have lifted for 10 years, and it's like, what have you been doing? Because clearly it's been working. So I do love to hear kind of the different perspectives, especially on the different ages that you've kind of worked with. Um, but I think now would be a perfect time to kind of transition into our last segment, which would be the Fast Five questions. So it'll be five semi rapid fire questions. I'll throw them at you about mental performance, and then you just answer them as best as you can. So whenever you're ready, I'm good to go.
Cool, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. First question: what part of your identity did sports help you discover?
Leadership. The reason I say that is because I was a captain. I went from walk on to team captain for my fifth and sixth year at East Stroudsburg.
Yes.
And looking back, once I finished up there were some things that were really glaring to me that I didn't do well enough from a leadership standpoint. And you learn through your failures when
Right.
you reflect on them. And yeah, it taught me and made me start to think really hard about keeping people accountable, um, about being more firm when the time is right.
Yeah.
Um, so leadership.
I love that. Question number two: looking back, what moment felt like the end for you, but ended up just being a new beginning?
I already talked about it. That first start I had at first base back in
Yeah.
doubleheader my freshman year. I
Right.
remember after that I went home. I ordered like a box of pizza to myself, like a 2-liter soda. And I
Yeah.
was like, just sad,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're eating and you're sad. You're like, this is it. What did I come here for?
Yeah.
And then here I am years later sharing it on a story about my journey. So that just
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. I love that. Comes full circle. It's awesome. Now, question number 3. When everything around you is chaotic, what's one habit that brings you back to center?
I'd say exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, habits come in and out, and I'll do different things at different times. Um, but it's rare that I fall out of a groove from a fitness, exercise,
Yeah.
training standpoint. Yeah, training keeps me centered.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. Now, number 4, what belief about yourself did you have to unlearn in order to grow as an athlete or a person now? So basically any like limiting beliefs that you might have previously had about yourself.
Remember, the limiting belief is my intelligence.
Okay.
I remember back in high school, I used to tell a lot of my teachers, like, hey, I'm just not, I'm not a school guy. I'm not a book smart guy.
Right.
I just want to move on from this and go to college and play baseball. And when you say that, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy or
Right.
self-limiting belief, and like you'll never be that. Now I love to like pick up a research article and read it. I read constantly. I mentioned a few books throughout the course of this podcast.
Yeah.
I would say I thought for a long time like I didn't like to learn.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say intelligence. It's more so learning, like the process
Yeah.
of learning something. It's really frustrating, and that's a part of the learning process.
Yes.
And I've come to really, really enjoy learning. It's something that I seek out all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the best skills you can have. If you can really learn how you learn effectively and like really attach to something, like sky's the limit. So I love to hear that. That's great. And then number 5, last question. What does success feel like to you now? And how has that changed since you started as an athlete?
I felt like as an athlete, success was like an end goal.
Yeah.
It was like this moment that I'm waiting for, that I'm
Yeah.
waking up to. Versus now, success is like walking into a gym, feeling really comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
Go about my business.
Right.
Having fun with the people around me, fellow
Right.
staff, players.
Yes.
And it's not as much like, I want to get to this level and do these things. It's like, wait a second, let me take a deep breath and look back to
Yeah.
the kid freshman year that couldn't get on the baseball field to now, the strength coach with the Tampa Bay Rays who's, living the dream.
Yeah.
More present moment, day to day, just really enjoying things. That's success.
Yeah.
It used to be result oriented.
Yeah.
It's just a carrot and a stick. You're always chasing something that's, when you get there, what's it like the day after? What's it like the day after you accomplish something?
Right.
You're going to go right back to whatever you were doing the day before you accomplished it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So present moment, day to day, being around really good people is...
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the growth too. That's awesome to hear. But Victor, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time and sharing your story. I do think you have a really unique journey, so it was really cool for you to kind of go through each part of that and share the mental insights that you've had from that and with the athletes that you've worked with. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to share that with us and kind of go through your journey. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. It was a pleasure being on, man.
Dude, I appreciate it. All right. I'll see you later, and thanks for jumping on.
Yes, sir.